This is so interesting and cool. And by cool, I mean like striking fear into me. A cartel of influential data sets is dominating machine learning research, new study suggests. A cartel. A small number of benchmark data sets, largely from influential Western institutions and frequently from government organizations, are increasingly dominating the AI research sector.
Are you part of this cartel?
I don't know. I'm wondering if I am. The author contends that widely used datasets are introduced by only a handful of elite institutions, and that this consolidation has increased to 80% in recent years. This is so interesting and cool. And by cool, I mean like striking fear into me. We talk a lot in this stream about the ethics in data science and the responsibilities that you have in terms of bias. When you have biased models, they're going to be biased in or against the things you trained it to do. So if you train a model on successful people and the pictures are all of successful people, and you want to just like be able to take a picture of someone and say whether they'll be successful or not, this is going to be heavily weighted towards the people in our society who are successful already. Empirically and historically, this is old white men. So the thought that being able to make a model based off someone's face and predict success could be anywhere near accurate is based off the data that you have in terms of accuracy. Because now you're just talking about historically who has been successful, where the thing that you might have wanted to build was predicting success. You've overfit on characteristics of that you shouldn't have been overfitting on. Because who's to say people who weren't burdened by all these different biases in the hiring and professional industries of the world are clearly showing up from our different failed HR practices. So really you're capturing that, but you're trying to say it's predicting the future. So these are two competing concepts. In the world of machine learning, the more we can identify our biases, account for them in our models in some computational way, or make our data better, in which we can accurately say certain things like the way someone looks is how successful they're going to be, then we can ultimately say we're doing better, more fair data science in a place where we should truly be as objective as possible, right? Now, the issue with these different data sets like ImageNet, all these different data sets out there that people use in terms of benchmarking, these do have inherent biases because they are made by specific people in an industry that is also majority dominated by people, just like majority dominated in terms of people who are leaders of America. These are your white men. And so if there are inherent biases across all data, why would that exclude biases inside these default open source gigantic data sets that, NVIDIA to Intel to any place that's doing hardware benchmarking or software benchmarking within data science, they use these data sets to do that, right? And a lot of the time, people are just talking about the speed, right? Oh, the benchmark is based off a speed accuracy trade-off or something. And for a lot of the time, that's the truth. But what about in terms of modeling in general? These specific models that are built based around these specific data sets perform in certain ways. But what about data sets that involve underrepresented types of data? And by data, we do actually mean underrepresented people who create underrepresented data sets. Where does that fall in line? And if we are being so consumed by a particular handful of data sets in something that's so critical, like whether or not a model or hardware is good, then why wouldn't we want more diversity? And that's because a few reasons. One of them being there might not be data sets collected by people who are as influential as these certain companies or bearers of these open source data sets. We've never tried to build the bridges to actually do that anyway. This is really interesting because I love talking about bias in machine learning because there's so much of it. It's important to not just be aware of it. It's important to act in favor of underrepresentation if it means for more accurate data science, let alone just more accuracy in the world. Everyone in the data science industry, whether you are a student all the way to, the number one advocate and practitioner, we all want the most accurate representation of measurable stuff in our universe with zero bias from what humans do in terms of introducing bias, which is they introduce a ton of bias all the time. But it would also mean we would have to be aware and also self-aware that these biases exist. And some people just don't want to confront actual real shit, like racism in data science. A more objective truth than the one we know in terms of data science as we currently do. All for eliminating bias in the industry. And if it starts with like eliminating some of the more classic data sets in machine learning, then why not?